Hey everybody. Hey, what's up? Happy solar eclipse day. I'm glad that this broadcast is finally happening. I wanted it to happen, but Mercury retrograde has definitely had some other ideas for me. So I've been having my interesting day, full of mundane things and also some interesting events as well. So I hope you guys are all safe. I hope that everybody had a good day. I hope that things went smoothly for anyone that was, for anyone that was in Texas or any of the places where you were going to see the eclipse and there were a lot of people or anything like that. Just hope everyone's safe. Hope everyone had a really good experience today. Was going to do this live and then, yeah, just Mercury retrograde strikes again. Wow. Who put Mercury in the microwave? And so my internet wasn't working earlier and technical difficulties. So I wasn't able to start my stream when I wanted to, but I had other things going on as well. Also, some kinds of transportation issues. So it's been interesting, right? Just all these events, cosmic events happening one after the other. Some really interesting stuff. Of course, I put together a little presentation for anyone that wants to join me tonight on this little journey down the rabbit hole. I'm the Spiritual Genie. Like, share, subscribe if you love my vibe and want to become part of the tribe. This is going to be a little bit of, how we like to do a little bit of a conspiracy investigation, I like to call it. And we'll be finding clues and putting some clues together. And I just want to talk about some really interesting stuff that I've been finding, right? Some weird stuff like not really like going as far to say as like these doomsday prophecies are like gonna come about. I think that we've had a lot of times in life where people have jumped the gun and said like, "Oh my, like the end of the world," right? But the world is probably gonna continue on and things did happen today though. Cern opened up today and I see some conflicting information out there and it's funny because on one hand, we've got them saying things like, we're not opening portals or anything like that. But then when you look a little deeper into the science of things, you find out like what it really is. And so, yeah, it's a little contradictory, I guess I'll say. But there's definitely some evidence to back up that they're doing some interesting stuff. Of course, top secret experiments like with the government. We know how they are. They love to do their little stuff. Okay. So I've been doing some research just into some scientific things in regard to wormholes and like these Einstein theories. And we're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. Like, we're going to talk about, what was done actually today, many years ago, by a man named Aleister Crowley. And that was to summon the demon of Aiwass. And so I found it interesting that today was just such a, I feel like it was kind of this whole thing that's been made out to be this huge deal, all these conspiracies. And I am ripe for conspiracies. Let me tell you, if you guys know me, like, I'm all for a good conspiracy theory, right? I am down for conspiracy investigation, but don't come to a debate if you don't have any type of fact to prove your stuff. So I always try to find factual evidence to back up anything. And I'm really not trying to prove any points. We're just going to do a little exploring here. And I'm going to show you guys some of the stuff I've been finding. Okay. So happy eclipse to anyone that's catching this now live or anyone that will catch this on the replay. Love you guys, all of you, everybody so much. You guys are all the wind beneath my wings. Okay. So I'm going to share screen here now with some stuff I've been looking at. Let's check this out for just a sec. I love the ads. Okay. So just in case anybody missed it, I had some friends, like a friend who was in Virginia who sent me some really cool photos. Hey out there, shout out to you, friend. You know who you are. Thank you for those beautiful photos of the eclipse today. Where I'm at in my corner of the world, I did not see it and I was doing all these things and it just really wasn't practical, right? Like, oh, look at all that symbolism going on in that in the background there, right? Like, I love to put the cover, I love to put the thumbnail also as the background because I put a lot of work into my thumbnails, and I definitely like think them out. And yeah, look at that. The Demogorgon, and then we got old Sleepy Joe right there. That's funny. So okay, so this says Cleveland witnesses total solar eclipse. So Cleveland, Ohio, was within the path of the eclipse. I thought that was pretty cool.
That is a moment
that's it.
You have that no one else gets to experience. We get to experience that now.
That is amazing. It is absolutely unbelievable.
Human beings have been naturally fascinated by this phenomenon for a long time, I feel like, but it also is very interesting. What you get prophetic and biblical things that I've heard also surrounding today and these times.
It's nighttime here
in general.
Look at that. Looking at the edge of the corona. These prominences that are coming off.
Wow.
You almost have to worry about the solar
space weather. That is coming.
I don't know about you guys, but I was not trying to be around. I don't know how many thousands of people necessarily. I'm like, over here, look at this. This
from
is
the
good for
size
me.
of the sun, but there's
in my bedroom.
Come towards you as well, but it gives everybody a sense
about the huge
of what you're seeing. And if you look, you see that lower corner there. There's obviously an ejection that's pretty brighter than everywhere else.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what space weather is when the sun ejects mass and energy.
I kind of had like thoughts about it representing like the biblical symbolism of it as well. Like, it could be
one thing that can
this
protect you
phenomenon that like black magicians and occultists are like fascinated with, because
Earth's magnetic field
it's this moment of darkness where like the sun, you know, the sun,
magnetic field with space station is. We're only 240 miles high.
When the sun is kind of blotted out and there's this moment of darkness, right?
And that's something really important we have to take into account as we go further. And
moment of darkness where the light from the earth is blocked. But I really feel like,
look at that.
Spiritually, though,
it is
these solar eclipses are like these representing things becoming illuminated to your soul, right? Like it is when certain things are blocked sometimes, and then all of a sudden, like boom, you have one of it moves and get all of that light returning again.
And there's a lot of good NASA websites that will explain the sun science, Helios, and they actually have space weather predictions. So
not shine temporarily.
You can see this. It doesn't get here. It doesn't travel the speed of light. What we're seeing, that happened 8 minutes.
8 minutes ago. That's 8 minutes away.
Right. So that's with the sun. Obviously, the moon is not that far away.
Yeah.
But that's traveling at the speed of light. The actual energy is traveling a little bit slower, so we can actually forecast what that impact is going to be on Earth.
The moon is not a pool cue. It's not. It's actually got bumps on it. So when the sunlight goes around it, we're going to actually see what?
Well, so we'll see little tiny, as it comes back out, you'll see the little prominences, like sort of a bubble.
We got to head back, but thank you so much for joining us.
Wow, I feel like it like kind of hypnotizes me.
My dad says our new Linux system saves energy.
Okay, so we saw that. That was cool. Oops, I forgot to share the other thing. So anyway, that was a little recap of the solar eclipse today. I did not get that view where I'm at, so I'm thankful that there were people out there that recorded, took pictures, and all of that. And like I said, I hope everyone had a beautiful experience. It's never my goal to fearmonger or anything like that on my channel. It's all for educational and entertainment purposes only over here. And we are just doing our investigations and going down the rabbit hole as we like to do. I already like to do my research, so it's just kind of fun to take you guys along the journey with me, right? So let me share a different tab here that I had open. Let's take a look. All right, so as you can see, I included on my thumbnail Stranger Things. It says, you see the CIA situation, you see the Demogorgon, right? Like all these like, ooh, really kind of seemingly far out and sci-fi concepts in that show. But of course, whenever I see something like that show, my first instinct is to go and look and be like, okay, like what is this based on? So of course, if you want to get to the truth of the information as well, you got to just like get straight to the source. So that way nobody can really argue with you. Like when you're like, oh, like they are definitely doing experimentation. Cern, who is opening portals today on the day that Aleister Crowley just so happened to be trying to summon a demon named Iwas years ago on April 8th. There's this fixation with 8. Also just going to say that the Baltimore Bridge went down during the lunar eclipse at 1:28, which my friends on some other channels around the YouTube land, shout out Donut Factory, definitely called has been calling that occult number 128. We've seen it with Matthew Perry. He actually passed away also on a lunar eclipse, and that was October 28th. So that would have been 028. So that's 128. So it's the significance in numbers, and that's how you can kind of tell like what rituals are being done and what's going on. And of course, as these folks like represent, no, I'll say they worship and follow after, those who worship the dark one. Okay, the one that likes to mislead, the trickster. He rules through deception, right? So there's like, I feel like the dark brotherhood, I like to call them. They operate in this way where Satan would be the father of lies, right? So they operate in half truths. So it's like, I think the magic that's being done, right? This black magic that's being done on us, the spells that are being done, the programming, right? The programming of your TV and everything like that. And that's what, we know the Central Intelligence Agency has a lot to do with all of that, different forms of mind control. And so, yeah, so just what I'm saying is they rule with deception. So there's always half truth. So of course they're going to say, no, we're not doing things, when blatantly they're doing them right in front of your face. And if you really just do enough digging, you'll find some interesting information. So we're just going to read, because there's nothing wrong with reading, right? YouTube, nothing wrong with reading. You want people to be smart. You want them to read. So here's Cern's website. If you look at their logo as well, I don't know if you guys noticed on the, here, I'll remove myself really quick. Actually, wait, let me remove. Okay, so when I remove myself, you'll see that the Cern logo has it looks like a 666. Like, not even gonna lie, honestly, it's like how the Google symbol is. And it's kind of funny the colors I chose to make it to just show you guys. So just check it out for 1 second. Okay, there's their logo, right? Here we are back at their website. There's their logo on there again. And you have it kind of superimposed on top of each other. So almost two going on here. But you definitely have that. If you take it around here, you have a 6. If you take it around here, you have a 6. If you take it around here, you have a 6. So you have all these 6s going, right? In their logo. Okay, interesting. 666. I'm just saying, you can't make this stuff up if you fucking tried. And some people might say you're reaching, but it's not reaching at all. Actually, it's quite blatant. It's quite blaring, and it's that hidden in plain sight vibe, which is how these occultists like to do their magic. So extra dimensions, gravitons, and tiny black holes. Why is gravity so much weaker than the other fundamental forces? A small fridge magnet is enough to create an electromagnetic force greater than the gravitational pull exerted by planet Earth. One possibility is that we don't feel the full effect of gravity because part of it spreads to extra dimensions. Though it may sound like science fiction, if extra dimensions exist, they could explain why the universe is expanding faster than expected and why gravity is weaker than the other forces of nature. The question of scale. In our everyday lives, we experience 3 spatial dimensions, the 3rd dimension, and a 4th dimension of time, the 4th dimension. How could there be more? Einstein's general theory of relativity tells us that space can expand, contract, and bend. Now, if one dimension were to contract to a size smaller than an atom, it would be hidden from our view. But if we could look on a small enough scale, that hidden dimension might become visible again. Imagine a person walking on a tightrope. She can only move backward and forward, but not left and right, nor up and down. So she only sees one dimension. Ants living on a much smaller scale could move around the cable in what would appear like an extra... Whoa, something just fell. That was crazy. What was that? V, what the heck was that? There's gravity happened in my house. I don't know if that was just like a spirit or what. That was crazy. Ants living on a much smaller scale, because I was thinking about being a medium, how I am, and how I in meditation and in transcendental meditation, so easily astral projection, leave my body and travel like this flea that they're talking about, or an ant, right? Goes back to that concept that a flea could move in between dimensions potentially because it could small enough that it could see other dimensions. So Ants living on a much smaller scale could move around the cable in what would appear like an extra dimension to the tightrope walker. How could we test for extra dimensions? One option would be to find evidence of particles that can exist only if extra dimensions are real. Theories suggest extra dimensions predict that. In the same way as atoms have a low energy ground state and excited high energy state, there would be heavier versions of standard particles in other dimensions. These heavier versions of particles, called Kaluza-Klein states, would have exactly the same properties and as standard particles, and so be visible to our detectors, but with a greater mass. If CMS or Atlas were to find a Z or W-like particle, and the Z and W bosons being carriers of the electroweak force with a mass 100 times larger, for instance, this might suggest the presence of extra dimensions. Such heavy particles can only be revealed at high energies reached by the Large Hadron Collider, LHC. So that's what they have at Cern, right? The Hadron Collider. Let's click it. Let's see. Oh, there goes my dog. Might not have been in here that plunk happened. 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. My little dog was just going off. Okay, the Large Hadron Collider. So this is what they've got going on at Cern. This is Cern right here, right? They've got all the blue coloring someone else had pointed out. Blue symbology, right, that we've been seeing. We were seeing the blue symbology on the 8 date, which had to do with Maui just saying, I don't know what the obsession with blue is all about when it has to do with this high energy, high frequency situations, but there must be something to that. Let's see here. Yeah, look at all the blue symbology. Got heavy on the blue. Okay, so the Hadron Collider's it's like it's a particle. They basically collide particles together using the Hadron Collider. And admittedly, something that does end up happening when you do this is black holes get opened up. So to say that you're not opening any kind of portal is, I would say that's not 100% true necessarily. Not necessarily in the same sense as a portal, I guess, because I'm not a freaking scientist. I don't really know the difference between black holes and portals, but I'm pretty sure black holes are a crazy kind of portal that are very dangerous, right? So let's see. Someone else had said that they feel like what they're trying to do is basically like expand on Einstein's theory of relativity and what he was doing with these gravitational studies in finding that oh shoot, what the heck was I I totally just space. Sorry, I'm doing this live so much later than I wanted to be doing it. Please hit that like button, you guys, if you're liking this type of content and are enjoying going on this ride with me. Thanks for joining me tonight. Okay, so anyway, we'll get back to whatever I was just saying, but let's read this first and then we'll be done with this. We'll go on to another slide. A little piece of gravity. Some theorists suggest that a particle called the graviton is associated with gravity in the same way as a photon is associated with the electromagnetic force. If gravitons exist, it should be possible to create them at LHC, but they would rapidly disappear into extra dimensions. Oh, that just sounds like also harmless. I mean, do you really know what this is all like new experimental sounds like kind of technology, like you're just trying things out that could potentially have some far-reaching implications, but I mean, doesn't seem like they're really worrying about that. Just for the sake of science. I mean, I guess I'm on board, kind of. I don't know. Not really. Not with your label over here and all those sixes going. I don't really like that. All right. So it says they would disappear into other dimensions potentially. Collisions and particle accelerators always create balanced events, just like fireworks, with particles flying out in all directions. A graviton might escape our detectors, leaving an empty zone that we notice as an imbalance in momentum and energy in the event. We would need to carefully study the properties of the missing object to work out whether it is a graviton escaping to another dimension or something else. This method of searching for missing energy in events is also used to look for dark matter or supersymmetric particles. Okay, so y'all are obsessed with finding other dimensions. Why don't you just fucking admit it, okay, instead of gaslighting us so much? But I digress. Microscopic black holes. Another way of revealing extra dimensions would be through the production of microscopic black holes. Oh, it's a form of a portal, I kind of think. What exactly we would detect would depend on the number of extra dimensions, the mass of the black hole, the size of the dimension, and the energy at which the black hole occurs. If micro black holes do appear in the collisions created by the LHC, they would disintegrate rapidly in around 10 to 27 seconds. Okay. They would decay into standard model or supersymmetric particles, creating events containing an exceptional number of tracks in our detectors, which we would easily spot. Finding more of any of these subjects would open the door to yet unknown possibilities. Oh, so innocent, I'm sure. We're just opening black holes, no big deal, but we're not opening portals. Like, I was reading all these articles that were literally like, no, it's impossible. We're not opening portals, but you're fucking opening wormholes. You're trying to open wormholes. So there's this situation, right? That this is what someone's theory that I was reading about and listening to earlier was talking about. A wormhole is a hypothetical structure connecting disparate points in space and time. So it's like space, it's like basically, I've felt this and intuitively tapped into this at one point, that all the dimensions are superimposed on top of each other all at once at different frequencies. So depending on like what frequency you're at in that moment, you'll be able to be in different dimensions. So like when you sleep, you can interdimensionally travel because your body and your spirit kind of separate in a slight way. And then you can, you can astral project, you can travel in your dreams, you can travel in meditation. I truly believe that. I feel like I know that because it's something I've experienced, right? So I've learned though, and what I've felt in all my travels in the universe, that space and time is superimposed on top of itself. Like all the dimensions are superimposed. And I mean, if we just alter our energetic frequency, I truly feel like we can access other dimensions, right? So this goes to that adds to this theory of these disparate points in space and time. And it says, based on a special solution of the Einstein field equations, a wormhole can be visualized as a tunnel with two ends at separate points in space-time. Wormholes are consistent with the general theory of relativity, but whether wormholes actually exist remains to be seen, right? Well, they could be doing... Okay, this thing says, look, physicists just released step-by-step instructions for building a wormhole. So look, you can kind of see in that image right there, though, that's the example of how you could use a wormhole to travel through time. Like it's that these disparate points are basically stacked on top of each other, because if all the dimensions, like Stan Lee talks about in his theories of like the multiverse, right? And like the whole multiverse situation of like the Marvel comics, like Stan Lee was a total wizard, magician, occultist, tapped in, knew the secrets of this kind of thing. I mean, they even quote the doors of perception like in some Marvel movies. So yeah, you can see those disparate points is what we're talking about. So like what you would be doing potentially is trying to create wormholes where you can travel through different dimensions by accessing this point that basically intersects and overlaps with another point in space and time. So really fascinating stuff. And that honestly was coming from, that was coming from the Cern website. So you can't call me a conspiracy theorist, because like this is them admitting like, yeah, we are opening black holes, and like we definitely are doing some really controversial stuff, and they really don't know what the implications of all those things are. So hey, everybody out there, anyone that's watching, please hit the like button, feel free to comment. Welcome to the tribe. If you love my vibe, please like, share, subscribe. I love you guys. We're getting deep on this one. This is fun. I just really wanted to do this live before midnight, because then it was going to be, the day was going to be over, and this rare solar eclipse event and all this weird stuff lining up, I wasn't going to get the same opportunity, right? So yeah, Stanley, I do actually, because of some specific people, I was exposed to comics and comic books and like graphic novels and such. And I found that graphic novels and comic books actually go really deep. And a lot of them, I think, are these definite artistic, these different forms of like media, right? Like where I think like a good comic or a good graphic novel can be so powerful because it utilizes that energy of imagery. I'm all T-Mobile. Get your free 5G phones. No, I'm just kidding. Pay me, T-Mobile. No. I'm showing your freaking ad in my thing. No. So yeah, that's powerful with graphic novels and comic books because I think this like the art of imagery and symbology. It's really powerful in the subconscious. And video. Maybe we can close this. It'll probably open another one. Says Marvel goes back about 50 years, and I wasn't going to talk too much about this, but it did just make me think about that whole thing with like, the disparate points that we were just talking about in the theory with Einstein and time travel and how if you could access these points basically, which is what I believe they're trying to do at Cern, then you could potentially travel between those dimensions as they were talking about with the theory of the flea being able to travel between dimensions because it's small enough to fucking see the other dimensions, right? All right, so are we keeping up? We're learning science today, I guess, on some level. And also, we're physics and metaphysics, science and metascience. This is a really good one too. So I was just talking about, like I would say like with like the Masons and like, how Disney utilized how Disney utilizes the power of, the symbolism, right? As programming. And it's why Disney is geared toward children because it's powerful the way you can program a mind that's open, like a mind of a child. They have little sponge minds, right? But we're being programmed in our daily TV and whatnot. That's why it's called that. And they use different forms to do this, right? You see it in TV and movies. You see it in potentially plays. It could be books. Like there are a lot of, authors that are actually Masons and who are in the club that you wouldn't even think. And I'm pretty sure let's see, who wrote The Invisibles? Honestly, someone that I used to know showed me this graphic. Okay, I guess they're comics. I would almost consider them more graphic novels. Like the reading is thick. Like there's a lot of reading and there's some really deep and crazy like theories that come through in The Invisible. It gets like talking all about almost kind of like the shadow government and like the like super Illuminati stuff. Like just they get into how people in power kind of like become super hedonistic, and it's like the Invisibles are this team of anti-heroes, I guess you would say, and like they kind of take it upon themselves, I guess, to like fight the forces of like evil, but they're pretty like intense themselves, so that's why they would be considered anti-heroes. But they feel their cause is noble because the people that they're pursuing are like doing really sick shit, kind of like some of the stuff we're hearing about in our modern day, right? With Hollywood and the elite and everything that's coming out, like stuff that we used to call conspiracy is not being as much considered a conspiracy anymore, right? Like a lot of it's being proven to be true. So you have some really Masonic symbolism going on right here in this image. This is an image from one of the comics of the Invisibles, right? Are you an invisible? It says mutant metamorphosis, a chaos magic artifact brought out of a whatever that says. And yeah, so this comic gets freaking deep. And then I realized at one point, like, okay, some of these Masons are even like writing graphic novels and comics. And it's that way of being able to kind of like cryptically hide things in plain sight, right? Like you can hide it in plain sight. You can tell the story, but it seems far out because it seems far out, I guess, when you put it in this almost animated caricature, like kind of way as it is, with like illustration and I would say like, yeah, for sure, like some like cinema, like Stranger Things. When I watched it, it's like, okay, I bet a lot of people would watch this and just take for granted that it's not real. But really, in all reality, I did a little bit of searching and I saw very quickly that it was based on some really real stuff, okay? So just around this time last year, a little bit before, I made a little video on my channel about the earthquake that hit Turkey. And I don't know if we're just like, oh, I gotta find hold on, where the heck? Here's StreamYard. Crap. I gotta figure out how to get this to the other. How do I get this one on this tab? Can I even do that? Oh, I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. Come on. Get on there. Oh, shit. Sorry, I'm trying to like merge my StreamYard. What if I open it on this one? I had it on 2 different windows, guys. Sorry. It's not easy to just do necessarily seamless broadcasts. I think I'm getting better at it though. So be patient. I just wanted to hang out and chill with you guys anyway. Okay, sorry, I'm back. That worked though. That wasn't the worst. Okay, I feel like it's going particularly smooth for being a Mercury retrograde. It wasn't earlier. I was supposed to get on way earlier during the eclipse, but all right, let me reshare this tab again because I have a bunch of tabs open over here. So I wanted to start taking you guys through some different stuff. Just kind of a recap, I guess, of 2023 was crazy. Like the year literally kick-started, and I did a live about it back in February about this earthquake in Turkey where, the lenticular cloud was visible over Turkey, and then boom, like I knew that this event was signaling something bigger. And the things that I've learned about it ever since have been a lot. I've learned a lot in the past year since I did that last broadcast. That was last February. And that's when this gnarly earthquake hit in Turkey, which I, have my own feelings about, but it, let's just say there's a lot of technology that can do interesting things nowadays. And I personally feel like a lot of the natural disasters, potentially not so natural. That's just my feelings. Okay. So, but yeah, so this earthquake in Turkey literally killed like around, I've seen different numbers. 50,000 people was the last number that I saw. And really interesting that I had found out that actually the area that was hit was like so symbolically Turkey is in the shape of like the Eye of Ra. And then I learned this whole thing about like the mythology regarding like Set and Ra and this battle between good and evil and the left eye of Set getting gouged out. And it's this whole message, sacrifice. But yeah, so that kick started last year. And then we literally saw some of the most just crazy events last year, like one after the other. We got Turkey and it was Maui and then it was Morocco. And I mean, thousands and thousands of people just dying. And I've done a lot of research into the whole climate change thing, whatever. We're not going to go into it, but that'll be for another one. They don't like me talking about that. They don't like you talking about that necessarily, but folks. So yeah. So anyway, but this shit is getting biblical. Okay. We've got like literally like cataclysmic disasters going on. Like, and just because it's a brand new year, I haven't forgot. Like we just had this earthquake in Taiwan. Pretty bad, right? Kind of crazy. Just like whole buildings going down. 9 killed. It says more than 1,000 injured, but still, I don't know. I had my feelings. Go watch a channel called Dutch Sense. One of my mod on here told me about his channel, and he maps like weather stuff, and he goes all into like the microwave technology and everything, which is totally real, by the way. And I've gone into that in other lives, and we're not going into that right now on this one. That's for another one. A lot of predictive programming that we've been seeing. I might jump around a little bit, so just bear with me, but a lot of predictive programming that we've been talking about on my channel. I did predictions actually in that live last year, right? When that event happened with Turkey. I knew it was a big deal, and I was thinking, this is really some end times shit. Like, and I've been feeling my own I've been feeling my own intuition. I've been getting visions, and I've been having my own kind of like downloads, in regard to what I feel is like coming around the bend and what's happening. Or I've seen certain possibilities, I guess I'll say, like different outcomes, so I don't know though. I feel like it's a kind of a great mystery to us all at this point, but have no fear. Don't let these ones get to you, right? They want to invade your psyche, invade your subconscious. They want to get you all afraid and get you on these doomsday prophecies about the red heifers, and we'll talk about that in a little while. But yeah, so I had definitely kind of predicted some crazy shit to go down in 2023, and I was literally talking about a lot of destruction, and look at what happened. And I was talking about World War III, and we were talking about Nostradamus's prediction in that live. Go check it out. Did that one last February, and not even joking, like talking about all this stuff, and it is literally all coming true. It's crazy. Like, that's why I say in the title, the shit is getting biblical, because it definitely is. So what you're seeing now, this tab, is just the predictive programming we saw in the movie Leave the World Behind, right? All the symbology about the eclipse, which, once again, I'll bring that back around from what I talked about in the beginning. Matthew Perry going out on the lunar eclipse. They love to take people out on the eclipse. The Illuminati, they have an obsession with this. Like, this is something I literally called before it even happened. I was like, watch, someone that's a famous celebrity is going to be tomorrow and on the lunar eclipse, and literally woke up the next day, boom, he was. So there was all this symbology and Leave the World Behind, right? It was produced by the Obamas. We have this giant ship wash up, and I was like, bet when I saw this movie, I was like, bet you guys in 2024 we are immediately going to see some weird stuff with like the airplanes and things, which I don't even think I pulled up anything about that, but like, the whole situation with the Boeing stuff, and then the whistleblower guy getting like taken out. So it's been, this whole movie was about all the cybersecurity threats, and, what was it? It's like the terror of, like cyber terrorism and all this crazy stuff. But really, it's like, I don't know, like it's like Big Brother's watching, like, I don't know if it's like the external forces as much that we were going to be worried about as much. But also in that movie, we did see, like some crazy stuff with the flags falling from the sky. And like, now, we've been in war with Palestine and Hamas. And I've also put some weird pieces together in regard to all that. I feel like we've seen predictive programming in different ways that we just weren't really super aware of. Like when the train crashed into East Palestine, Ohio, and then Hamas and Israel went to war together after that. So Palestine and Israel. So East Palestine, which I thought was the weirdest name for like an American town, East Palestine. But yeah, no, I've realized like a lot of these things are rituals, and they're telling us like what's going to happen before it happens. East Palestine, Ohio, then there's Palestine and Israel going to war. You also have like Moscow, Idaho, where, I'm sorry, but these really crazy unalivings happen on the 13th of the month, and there's all these unsolved ones on the 13th of the month, and they're all stabbings too. But you have Moscow, Idaho, and then you have the whole like situation with Russia and Moscow and Ukraine going on, right? I don't know, it's all a little weird. It's how these Masons, it's how these magicians and occultists like to operate. They put it right in plain sight. But what I was getting at with the boat right here from Leave the World Behind, what just happened on the lunar eclipse? Like I said, at 1:28 a.m., the Baltimore Bridge was taken out. Sacrifice? Maybe. Much. Also, was a money move, was a power move, I learned. So that has a lot to, that area has a lot to do with trade and stuff, but I really feel like they were showing us this predictive programming when it came to, and someone was telling me about the white lion, and now I can't remember exactly what that means. If anyone out there knows, feel free to hit it in the chat. But yeah, they were showing us about that. I feel like this is some predictive programming. They were like, here, look, this boat is going to like fucking have some kind of electrical issues. And the whole thing was supposed to be some kind of cyber terrorism thing. And that's what they're talking about in regard to, the boat and why it malfunctioned and ended up hitting the bridge, which I don't know if you watched the video. Tell me what you think in the comments if you're still here or you make it to this point at the replay. Tell me what you think about that bridge hitting that boat hitting that bridge, because It looked like it steered right for the pillar. I mean, I can't make it up. Oh, I thought I had, I guess I have like a lot of other tabs open. Okay, let's see. So yeah, for those that want to call conspiracy, okay, I can definitely receipts. I don't know if this is necessarily true. Sometimes you see articles like this. That's why, as we still talk about leave the world behind and we're on the eclipse stuff, because the Illuminati are obsessed with eclipses and they love doing these rituals on certain eclipses. And this article is saying, well, you can read it. So, I mean, this has been said about several people, like, you know, Chester Bennington, Chris Cornell. Now we've got Matthew Perry. And sadly, to be on top in that world, you know, you got to know about some shit, okay? You got to do some things, right? You can't just be in the elite without having some dirt on you yourself. So when it comes down to it and you ever want to like speak out against them, or you want to try to like blow the lid off some shit, they'll come at you with all the dirt they have on you, right? Because you gotta have some kind of dirt in order to get into this multi-million-dollar club to really kick it with the elites. You gotta be doing some things too, some ritualistic things, okay? It all comes with a price, right? Fame comes with a price, and that's why you hear him joking about, oh, like we sold our soul to the devil. Well, it's not really a joke. It's true. It's true. You sold your soul. You sold yourself for materialism is really what it is. So they all know, you know, one day the piper is going to come knocking. There's a whole like mythological tale about that, about the piper, and, you know, some Irish story about, they call him like, I swear if he wasn't called Saint, or not Saint Nick, was it? Yeah, Old Nicholas. It was this story, Old Nicholas, this Irish tale, and it's about, you know, when the tax man comes to collect on that, right? But it's like about this trickster who like outwits the, you know, the devil, and he kind of tricks him and he gets him to like give him more time and give him more of what he wants and in the physical, until eventually it does fucking run out. And like eventually, you know, everybody's got to pay. You got to pay up. Like, so this is when Matthew Perry passed away. I just wanted to show, to just prove like it was an eclipse. It was a partial lunar eclipse on 1/28. The Baltimore Bridge was taken down at 1/28 on a lunar eclipse. Can't make this fucking shit up, okay? Just correlations. It's just weird. That's all. I'm not saying anything. Sacrifices. I'm not saying anything, but it is a little weird, okay? We all really trust the government. Come on, look at this. This is some Project MK Ultra documents. Look at CIA.gov. Okay, these are government websites. I always do, like I said. We look at receipts over here with the Spiritual Genie. All right, so you really trust these guys? They've been up to all kinds of naughty things for quite a while now. And as long as they've been in business, I do believe. Look at this, April 3rd, 2018. All these files talking about MK Ultra, the surreptitious use of many types of drugs, as well as other methods to manipulate individual mental states and to alter brain function. Project MK Ultra was first brought to wide public attention in 1975 by the U.S. Congress through investigations by the Church Committee and by a presidential commission known as the Rockefeller Commission. Interesting. They're not compromised. Investigative efforts were hampered by the fact that CIA Director Richard Helms ordered all MK Ultra files destroyed in 1973. Sounds kind of like somebody we know. A little bit like Hillary Clinton, just destroying all this information. Just bleach it. Just get rid of it. Just get rid of it, okay? All right, so let's see. What else do we have here? Yeah, there was a ton of symbolism going on Leave the World Behind. We're not going to go back into it too much, but I do feel like if you want to go look at my other video, we did talk a little bit about some of the predictive programming that I was seeing going on in there. Let's look at this. All right, so Stranger Things. Oh, Stranger Things, science fiction. It's not real. Yeah, well, okay. Here's energy.gov, another government website. Oh, this is the best. I love it. They just put it all out there because it's hidden in plain sight. I'm telling you, that's how these occultists operate. If you have to hide it in plain sight, or else it's not fair. It's not fair. You got to trick us fair and square. All right, trick me fair and square. If I fall for it, well, that's my problem. But look at that thing. Looks like an eye, doesn't it? Looks like a giant eyeball. That's symbolic, right? It's symbolic. Looks like an eyeball. They're obsessed with the eye symbology, which I also am. I love eyes. I draw them on everything. I'm obsessed with the Egyptian symbology, as you can tell. They're all about the eyes, and that's where that comes from. And that's interesting that they're opening, that they are opening black holes. Hello out there. Welcome. Happy eclipse to anyone that's joining. Hope everyone's doing well. Thank you for hanging out for my unexpected deep dive down the stranger rabbit hole. No, it's that sounds kind of weird, but anyway, so they're obsessed with this symbology of the eye, right? The eye, the Illuminati eye, what do they call it? It's the all-seeing eye, the eye of Ra, the eye of God, essentially. Like, well, you could consider this playing God slightly, right? Like, what are we doing? All right, so searching for the upside down. Here's energy.gov. You can go look for yourself. Go Google this if you want. Oh, look, October 28th, 2017. Really? 10/28. We were just talking about that. I just gave several examples of the 128 symbology being involved with sacrifice. The Baltimore Bridge went down at 128. Matthew Perry went down on 10/28, 2023 during a lunar eclipse. So this is interesting to me that this article was posted on October 28th because we have that 128 in there. There you go. Boom. That's how their symbology. Their symbology will be their undoing. Because if you know what to look for, you guys, when it comes to all this Illuminati stuff, no joke, like it's all in the symbolism. And they can gaslight all they want, but if you know how to look at your symbolism and you know what you're looking at, you can't gaslight me when I know the truth inside of myself, right? Searching for the upside down. Because Stranger Things ain't fake, baby. And then this is the government admitting it. All right. Boom. 128 symbolism right there. That's some crazy shit. I want to show that to somebody. The science hidden in Stranger Things science fiction. And then they try to be all like, well, like it is science fiction, but it's just like there are real concepts in there. It's like, okay. Yeah, no, it's based on real concepts, actually. So it's more like that. Stranger Things was unquestionably the show of the summer last year. Not last year, I don't think, but maybe a couple years ago, whatever, 2017 when this one was written. So a few years ago now. It captured more viewers than almost every other buzzed about Netflix or original series and lit up social media for months. The show also sparked interest in the real science behind some of its more outlandish moments, particularly when it came to the subject of other dimensions. So we read all about that on that other page on Cern. Cern was talking all about that. Now here they're talking about the upside down, right? The nightmarish realm where our heroes venture to find the missing Will Byers. The upside down is described in the show as existing in an extra dimension alongside the ones we can see. As above, so below. An extra dimension that can be accessed through a portal, the multiverse, remember? The portal that we were just talking about, wormholes, and what was it? It was disparate points that you can access. If you can access, you can open a wormhole, you can access disparate points that will allow you to basically travel through space and time on a different line than as if you were traveling it linear. The upside down is described, blah, blah, blah. We just read that. It obeys few of the rules of our dimension and seems like an element of the story that is much more fiction than science. But is it? Actually, there is real hard science behind the idea of extra dimensions. We did just learn about that. So it's real. There are other dimensions. They're admitting that shit. And the Department of Energy's Office of Science is involved in studying this very thing in both theory and experiment. Turns out the ideas presented in Stranger Things episode The Flea and the Acrobat are pretty much spot on. Oh, it turns out, imagine that. Hollywood and the CIA aren't like hand in hand. It's not predictive programming. Okay, well, it just must be a coincidence. In the show's analogy An acrobat on a tightrope can move only forward or backward, but a flea on the same tightrope, working a much smaller scale, can move all around the rope in other dimensions, seeing more of them. Since we're the acrobat in this analogy, the question is to test if extra dimensions really exist. Now, keep in mind, you guys, so keep in mind that the government is likely, like, probably I've read about 300 years potentially ahead of us when it comes to what they allow us to know as far as scientific advancement, right? The technology that's probably available, I'm sure we have no fucking clue about. Like, we can imagine because we have vivid imaginations, although some act like it's all impossible. But really, I really feel like the technology they do truly have access to is like far more advanced than we can kind of imagine. And they like to just pull our chain a little bit and be like, oh, like, my God, it's pretty much spot on. How did they do that? Oh, well, they did that because they're you and you're controlling what they say and do. And they're your little puppets and you tell them what to put out there in their little movies. And then you control our little brains like little malleable sponges. So this says the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore collapses. And that was crazy. Did a reading about that. I thought it was really, really interesting, the reading. So if you're into that kind of thing, go check it out. So 6 people, there's our 6, right? That number 6. We were just talking about that 6 on the Cern symbol. We've got 666 on there. So 6 people, that's pretty symbolic. Plunged into the frigid waters below as that boat, cargo ship, just rammed into this massive bridge. Really scary stuff. But yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting whenever this came out that it ended up happening at 1:28 a.m. in the morning. What else do we have? Oh, I was like going deep. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So yeah, I was just saying, like, all this like freaking predictive programming that you see, with these different cases that some of you guys follow that are into true crime, if that's why you're here. I've been noticing weird symbolism involved with like the Moscow case, like the Idaho 4. And then then you had this crazy event that just happened in Moscow, right? The concert hall that was attacked. That was on 3/22. And that's where I was going to tie that in with the 3/22. The Moscow event happened on 3/22/24. 3/22 is Skull and Bones number, right? So we have some pretty deep symbology coming through with that date. So some really significant dates and some really significant events have been happening for sure. 3/22 is definitely Skull and Bones number here. Okay. This article looks interesting. Let's click on it. Every now and then you do some Googling and you will come across some interesting articles that, people have taken a good amount of time and research to write. And you have to know how to vet your stuff, y'all. Like, when doing research, you have to know how to be able to tell like what you're researching is legit or not. And always, I always say take what resonates and leave the rest. Like, even when you're reading something that is an article, it's like, okay, what do I feel from this? But 3/22, secret societies, depopulation and the healthcare plan. This was in 2010. It's a little while ago, but what do Skull and Bones, ancient German secret societies, the Georgia Guidestones on the healthcare bill have in common? The answer is March 22nd. That's right. The Georgia Guidestones were christened on March 22nd, 1980. Interesting, on Skull and Bones Day in 1980. The first commandment on the stones was a pledge to keep the world's population under 500,000 people. Well, that's going to be impossible. But maybe that is potentially a long-term goal. Who knows? It seems like it with the way that Bill Gates talks about that subject. It says 3/22 or March 22nd is also the sacred number to Skull and Bones, the secret society from Yale that produces the leaders of the United States and the world. When Tim Russert asked President George W. Bush what the Skull and Bones special number 3/22 signified, Bush replied that this was a secret. Senator John Kerry, was a secret. Senator John Kerry, who ran against Bush in 2004, is also a member of this ultra-secret society. He also refused to tell us what the number 322 meant to Skull and Bones. Of course not, because the main rule in the club is you don't talk about being in the club. It's just like Fight Club. That's where that concept came from. That's what that movie is talking about. Okay, Fight Club is definitely based on this concept in especially Freemasonry, that you don't talk about like what goes down. You have to be a part of the club and an initiate in order to know the secrets of within the temples. That's how it was back in, ancient times as well. In order to know the secrets of initiation, you had to yourself be an initiate, right? So no one can know the secrets. But I thought that was interesting that, all this crazy stuff has been happening on these certain dates. Like you had the bridge go down on fucking the lunar eclipse, right? At 1:28. Matthew Perry dies at 10:28, which is a 1:28 on a lunar eclipse. You have this Moscow terrorist attack happen on 322, Skull and Bones number, right? And if you want to go back and refer, you can check out my 9/11 video, and that one gets really deep into like symbolism and some of these dates and like the Skull and Bones Society and everything like that. So it's like all a rouge. Like, and that's why I said in the beginning, that these occultists that be running the show operate all through symbolism, but they also tell you half truths, right? This is actually probably a really good article. We're not going to read the whole thing, but it just was to kind of graze over that. Here's another one that is probably pretty good, by Katie Serena. The Secret History of the Skull and Bones Society and the Powerful Men Behind It. I guess like they actually have the skull and 2 crossbones of like some Native American chief or something like that in their Skull and Bones temple, like on display, which is kind of creepy. I don't really like that. But yeah, they do. And they like to do weird things. So they like things like that. But yeah, that's kind of, I would say, I feel like that's a little disrespectful. Why do you have those? You shouldn't have them. Yeah, so we've got the Bushes have been part of this club. A lot of famous people. Shoot, I'm trying to think. Is Obama a part of any of these clubs? He might be. Definitely the Bushes, said John Kerry. I know a lot of people have been in Skull and Bones as an actor. This actor guy. Huh. There we go. Also known as the Tomb, the headquarters of the Skull and Bones Society. Wow. Crazy. Wonder what goes on in there. Don't really want to know exactly. Heard some weird stuff. So I don't know. If you pay attention to the symbolism, you guys, I'm telling you, like this world, people who run this world are running it off of symbolism. And if you understand predictive programming and you know what to look for, you can see the patterns and the trends. You can see things before they happen. White Noise, which came out in 2022, this Netflix movie, right? I'm not going to get super into it, but just like what I was saying Leave the World Behind was going to be, which was a lot of predictive programming for what was about to come in 2024. White Noise predicted something that was going to happen, and but it didn't predict, because that's predictive programming. Like, it's like they knew that it was going to happen, right? It would be too coincidental. It's almost impossible that could possibly happen. So, I made a short video about this and on TikTok, and I think I might have posted it here on YouTube, but yeah, it just shows like the whole monologue, the creepy monologue that one of the actors does. And right before the train hits East Palestine, Ohio. And it's crazy. This like, freight liner thing that's like carrying all these toxic chemicals, right? That hits East Palestine, Ohio in the movie actually happens in real life. So literally was East Palestine. Like some of the people from that town were in that fucking movie. No joke. And like Biden didn't want to have anything to do with going there. I'll just say that much. Trump definitely went there and helped the people out and gave them supplies and stuff like that. And at least like showed up. But it's sad because he wasn't even our president at the time. Just saying, however you feel about him, that's the truth. He did show up there. Which some people would be like, hey, that's a PR stunt, but whatever. I mean, at least he showed up. Geez. So I'm not going to get too much in it because I want to do a live stream specifically about this, but like, yeah, I don't know. There's some weird stuff going on, and I'm seeing some of the symbolism, and I'm seeing like how I feel like the CIA does like to do these little social experiments and like in different ways, kind of like see what's going to happen if they do a certain social experiment. I hate to say that I feel like some of these unsolved cases, you know, I don't know what kind of mind control is going on. Is it like more at is it at a different, is it a lower social level that the mind control is happening? Like you're programming people through the things that they're watching, and like, you know, you get incels, and that's kind of a societal thing that is a byproduct of certain parts of our culture nowadays, right? Like, I don't know. Is this potentially some kind of fucked off like social experiment? It is kind of weird how Brian Koberger is like super tied into like, you know, the case. He's super tied into like the BTK stuff with like, you know, what's her name? I totally forgot her name now. Famous profiler, Dr. Catherine Ramsland, right? He was the student of Catherine Ramsland who was working with the BTK killer. And like, you know, to say that somebody like her couldn't be tied in potentially with like the CIA or something like that is definitely not too far off of the stretch. Like somehow Koberger could be fucking connected to the government or something weird, or the Freemasons of the police. And I don't want to think that it's that, but like it's possible. Or maybe he didn't know and he's just like, maybe I don't know. Like maybe it's more insidious than that, and it's something that's more covert, but like I don't know. It's weird. Okay. Moscow, Idaho, the 13th, the Delphi murders happened on the 13th. That's all weird, right? So much corruption, it seems like. Social experiments, it's easy to distract people, right? And I feel like that was also kind of predicted, that some kind of crazy murder cases were going to come out and be these high profile. It's going to be something that the public was going to be focusing on last year. We've all been really absorbed in a lot of these cases, and sometimes it just makes me wonder, like, who's got their hand in the cookie jar? You know, who's stirring the pot? Who's pulling the strings? Because I promise it's not all as innocent as these motherfuckers try to make it seem like, okay? Here's these guys. The royal family is linked to eclipses, astrological events connected to royal births, drama, and tragedies. So some of the royals have been born on some significant dates, apparently on eclipses. This could have something to do with like some magic. I don't know. Like that's where we get into like Aleister Crowley, you know, all the rites and rituals that he was doing, how on April 8th, years ago, I don't know which year it was, that he attempted to summon the demon Aiwas. And I'll open a tab. Let's look at that. Surprised I didn't have that open for you guys. I've thought if there's magic that advanced occultists that have, the ones who've been hoarding the knowledge, like I wonder if they know how to reincarnate. Like I wonder if they know how to like reincarnate in the same families, or like, you know, in certain times, or if they like, I don't know, do they have clones? Like what? The clones are definitely possible. But yeah, so look at this. Aiwas is the name given to a voice that the satanic occultist and ceremonial magician, Aleister Crowley, reported to have heard on April 8th, 9th, and 10th in 1904. Crowley reported that this voice, which he considered originated with a non-corporeal being, dictated a text known as the Book of the Law, or a Liber Alvel Legis, to him during his honeymoon in Cairo. See? But he'll be communicating with demons and whatnot, which was April 8th, which is today for a little bit longer, all these years ago. And this is what it potentially looks like. Lam, which someone has had a theory. Donut was talking about, like, you know, an image of Doja Cat where it looks like she's almost imitating kind of this Lam being whenever she shaved her head, and then takes a picture in the certain angle. Interesting. Angel, dark angel. So yeah, all about Aiwas. the book of the law, what he downloaded apparently when he tuned into this being. But, you know, Hollywood and all the occultists of the government are obsessed with Aleister Crowley. And why is that, right? Why would that be? That's interesting. You look at people and what they're into, and you can pretty much see what they're about. Like, why would our government officials and like Hollywood elite be into like Aleister Crowley? He's a ceremonial magician and an occultist, right? So yeah, NASA, that's a whole nother one too. We'll probably end this soon, but NASA being an acronym or being, you know, maybe potentially a Hebrew word could have to do with being the great deceiver. I've been hearing some interesting theories lately about like, you know, potentially this ice sheet that could be blocking a larger portion of the world that we could be being hidden from us. It's quite a possibility. Definitely had the governments of the world out in Antarctica doing experimentation for quite some time, like the German government back in the day doing a lot of crazy experiments in Antarctica. I feel like they might have abandoned some of that stuff, right? Because it's fucking Antarctica. But all right, guys. So that's gonna be the end of my presentation. I just kind of wanted to, you know, just talk about some stuff and hang out with you guys, go down the rabbit hole a little bit, talk about the symbolism of all this crazy stuff that's happening. Just say happy eclipse. And you know, we didn't really get into the red heifer situation. That's, I guess, the whole thing. I did kind of want to talk about it, but you know, there is this whole biblical prophecy that the Jews want to sacrifice. If they sacrifice the red heifers, which they have hanging out in Israel, it's going to spark Muslims to attack, you know, Dome of the Rock, which you can see that image right beneath me right here. It's got the cow, the red cow with the Dome of the Rock. So the whole prophecy goes like with the red heifer prophecy that between several days ago, maybe a week or so, and Ramadan, whenever that is, I don't know. Supposedly the Jews might be sacrificing these red heifers, right? The thing about the heifers is they can never have been yoked, they can never have been milked, they can never have been pregnant, they can never have been leaned on. So it's apparently taken a long time to get these heifers. This hasn't been done, this kind of sacrifice, apparently since like 2,000 years ago or something. So it's kind of a big deal. It's like people are trying to usher, like, are you trying to usher in Armageddon? Because why are we trying to do that? Like, I feel like that can't really end well. You know, God is controlling things, and as much as we like to act like we're playing God, like the people at Cern and all these lovely dark magicians and occultists, it's like, come on, you know, Creator is running the show, and like we're all just little puppets for that higher energy, you know, I feel like. But so if the Jews sacrifice these perfect red heifers, these virgin cows, essentially, it will signify the starting of Armageddon, and it will mean that, I guess, Dome of the Rock gets destroyed. Then it's going to be like all the Muslim nations attack Israel, and then, like the prophecy goes, all the nations of the world rise up against Israel, and then you have Armageddon. So I don't know, we've heard this type of stuff before. We've heard about end of the world prophecies, and I just don't think it's going to quite go like that. I don't know if it's a self-fulfilling prophecy or if that's how that works. Maybe that is how that works. It kind of seems like prophecies are kind of like that sometimes. Like, you know, maybe we create the prophecy by making the damn thing. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? But, you know, I don't know if it goes like that. I do feel like we can still turn the tides here, and like I'm just choosing to hold out hope, you know. I do really feel like this is the apocalypse. This is the great unveiling. Is Armageddon right around the corner? It could be. It's looking like it's a huge possibility at this point. But, you know, whatever. What are we going to do? Stress about it? Like, so let's just have fun. Let's learn. It's going to be educated, though. That helps us to not be as susceptible to the spell work that's being done to us, right? Just being aware, having that third eye open, trying to do things that help us vibe a little higher so that we're not susceptible to dark energies. Don't allow yourself to give into the fear. Don't give in to fear. Just keep living every day like it's your last, no matter what. And that's what I'll keep saying, you know? I feel like human beings have been here for ages and ages, and to really get rid of us would be hard. It would be a hard thing to do. I don't see human beings completely being eradicated off this earth anytime soon. Do I see some potential eradication happening? Like maybe even a large chunk of the population? Yeah, like it's already happening. But I don't think that human beings are going to disappear from this earth altogether. Some might even say, well, the unlucky ones will stay behind and the others are getting raptured. I don't know. Maybe so. But maybe it wouldn't be so bad to inherit an earth that we could rebuild in an image that we truly desire based on brotherhood, love, unity, and connection. I don't know. Is it possible? Is it possible? I don't know if it's possible in this dimension. Human beings we're willful and ignorant. So I just turn my will over to the Lord. Lord, let me do your will, not my own. Mine is dangerous. So I'm the spiritual genie. That's going to be the end of my rant. It's 11122, right as I said that. Angel number. So I'm glad I got to get on here and hang out with you guys. Thanks for anyone that did catch the live. And if you're catching the replay, thank you. And don't forget to hit that like button. Smash the like button on your way out. Like, share, subscribe, hit that bell notification if you want to be notified every time I upload. I love you guys. Crazy times. We've got big shifts going on planet Earth. So, excuse me, go within and do that inner work, because as within, as without, right? Just like we were talking about during this live, other dimensions, the above and the below, right? What is it? What were they calling it? The beneath? I can't remember what the heck. But yeah, that's that concept of as above, so below. So just what you want to see in the world, do more of that inside yourself. Be what you want to see. It's the best we can do. Okay. Stay vigilant, stay aware. Okay, you guys. Be safe, buddy system, and take care of your loved ones. Give your loved ones an extra tight squeeze. Tell them you love them. Do a good deed. Spread a little kindness. Spread a little joy. And don't let the fear get to you. All right. It's all good at the end of the day. I love you guys. Have a beautiful night, wherever you're joining me from.